Yo, my people, RNK, Malik the Melanatedmilitant, RRR podcast episode. I'm not going to call this one an episode, I'm going to call this one like a feedback, a review of what we've been doing so far and where we're going with everything. So obviously our latest episode, I'm going to pop that over here. Bang, I love doing that. That's episode 4 with Richard Boyd Barrett. It's a political podcast. That one's for the community. That one's engaging us within a sphere and a realm where we're usually not represented. So the point of that one is to motivate students into leadership and have a conversation with students in leadership. Go check it out. It's very enlightening podcast, very interesting podcast. And yeah, we thank Mama Shia, our sponsor for that podcast, and Tola Vintage for hosting us there. So what we'd like to get into today is this conversation.
Listen up, one on the street, Travi, number 1 voice in Ireland.
Nah,
not right.
Are we going numbers or like lyrics? Not right. Though.
Travi, number 1.
And not only would we like to get into that conversation there, but we'd also just like to get into the conversation of spiritual schizophrenia. I think that's the word for it, because what I realized in the black community is that we have a lot of trauma that's caused a lot of spiritual schizophrenia, that's caused a lot of like splintering. Have you ever watched that movie Split? So it's like there's split personalities we share and we have that have caused us to stop growing, you know? It's like we're children with trauma and we can't actualize what it is to grow within a community and reap the seeds of what you sow. Now, it might sound a bit complicated what I'm speaking on right now. It'll all start to make sense when I get to the topics. Because when you look at maybe American rap scene or UK rap scene or anything black owned when it comes to companies, corporations and businesses, it seems like there's this common thread or theme that competition matters more than community. Things usually start in communities or in like ecosystems and environments where like a seed is planted and like-minded people come together to start to build those things. And naturally competition will further those things to adapt in places where without competition they might not have got to. But unfortunately, I believe the reason the black community can't find unity is because our splintered characters, our egos, our insecurities, the things that we get from spiritual schizophrenia matter more to us than the results of building something together. Do you get me? So say, for example, someone who's young and, you know, all these trends right now going around about like, I love TikTok because TikTok really be doing some insights into the black community in depth. So like all these uni students who go to university and then all of a sudden they have this splintered character from the one they have at home, which is like they join a gang or they become a roadman or they become a rapper or they become a model for females or they become a, you know what I'm saying? So like, although these things that we've merged into when we're trying to, like in adolescence, when we're trying to find ourselves, give us opportunities to grow and like as in become established in the future if we take them seriously to what God has put them on us for, versus if we take them for the sake of ego boost. So ego boost is like you're trying to prove those who never believed in you wrong. And because you're seeking validation, even within your career path now, the competition is everywhere. Everyone you see, you need to dominate. You know what I'm saying? The Rock would be an example of somebody who has this. Like, as in, I'll put in like a little thing about The Rock and how he shows this schizophrenia.
What many didn't realize was that The Rock's relentless need to dominate was deeply rooted. You see, from the very beginning during his wrestling days, The Rock learned that if he wanted to be widely accepted, he had to protect his aura and never appear small in any way. Since then, he has stuck with this way of thinking. That's why he adds some strange rules to his contracts. One of them says his characters can't ever lose a fight on screen, and they can't even take too much of a beating. On the surface, protecting his action hero image looked like a business move. But when you think about it deeply, you could see his ego on full display. Cause even in fiction, The Rock couldn't afford to look weak, and little by little, that indestructible persona started looking less like discipline and more like control. But it wasn't just his on-screen rivals dealing with this clause. Producers and directors struggled too, especially since fight scenes needed to be filmed around his rules and his rules only.
And then versus people who understand what it is to enter environments and not necessarily allow the ego to be the forefront of their character, but to hone into the true nature of themselves, so that then the people coming behind them, the people before them can feel fully respected in terms of how they've served the community. And it's so hard to understand because it seems like success is domination, and then failure is a lack of domination, but abuse is domination, you know? And we need to get that into our minds, because I think as a dominated race, we've been so driven into this culture of crabs in the barrel mentality. I must be the one to jump out and then look down upon you, man. And whether or not any of you make it out is by my choosing, you know? So I'll drop a lot of links and stuff in here that will reference the things I'm speaking about, so you may get like a better understanding. Because I know I may speak adequately, I may speak articulate, but not everybody has the dictionary and the diction to understand each word I'm saying, you know, because I flow a lot. So I have topics written down anyways, yeah? And I think for our community in general, it's healing this schizophrenic viewpoint of ourselves that would allow us to then reap what we sow. Because the reason I started the video with this.
Listen up, word on the street, Travi, #1 voice in Ireland.
Nah,
Not
not right. Are we going numbers or like lyrics? Not right. Not right though.
Travi #1, 2 years in a row.
Was because that conversation is important to rap. Now, rap being something of literature, cadence, flow, and skill, versus our current climate where rap can mean financial stability if geared towards the right place for a lot of people who have the passion for a musical career. But because like Jay-Z, boom, this guy here, Drake, this guy here, Kanye West, this guy here, who else? J. Cole, this guy here. Then you see the Discord with Kendrick Lamar, this guy here, and all the other people who've entered the rap game. Like you have Tupac, you have Diddy. You have all the people who entered this place where there was a fruitful ground to take their families from the bottom to the top using a skill or a talent that God has placed upon them, or they manipulated and artificially generated an image to find a way into doors that would allow them to get out there. We need to really hone in on what is important, because at the end of the day, the root cause of it was, how do I get out from the current situation I'm in to a stable situation? And not just how do I get out with those that I love and the people that like I influence on a better notion, you know? Because at the end of the day, like, I don't really understand the people who just want to like do things that they love just for themselves. Do you get me? Like, if that's what you want to do, like if Cello wants to bar just to be the best bar here, you can rap in your room. Do you get me? You can write the best literature and you can be in your room. But if there's a notion and an importance of impact, and rapping or barring is measured by intellect, and intellect being measured by a standard of a greater outcome, then you'd have to have the character of those things that you're trying to portray, especially when the root of rap in itself has a very particular spirit. I don't think it would make sense to try and pretend like the character of rap is just solely about dog eat dog competition. There is an element of that to it, and within that, there's also a purpose to who becomes king. You know what I'm saying? Because the king is a servant. The king isn't supposed to. The king being a servant or a tyrant would show you. I don't know why this hand sign became the sign, but you get me. Jesus is mine. You get me. Would show you the result of the community and like the greater ecosystem of the people around. Because if you have a tyrant king, trust me, everyone's hungry, everyone's suffering, because him and his have to be the shining. You get me? Because you just need to know about him. You just need to know about him. Me. But if you have a king full of knowledge and servitude, everybody's good. Do you know what I'm saying? And like when it comes to it, it's like if you guys watched Vinland Saga, Thornton's father. I know, like, in the beginning of the series, he dies, but he died like Minato in Naruto. If you watch Naruto, like those are, or Harashima, like those are the lower third. Those are kings, like the ones who are so like that they don't even like, they don't flinch. Like Jesus Christ, self-sacrificing, heroes. Like, they properly could crash out, and everyone who they crashed out against could die. But they chose not to do that because they know they can do that. You know what I mean? You don't have to exercise power unnecessarily if you truly are powerful.
That's my favorite rapper.
But if you are not powerful, you'd be like the small chihuahua barking at the big Rottweiler. The big Rottweiler is unfazed by this barking because it knows at any point it can just rip that chihuahua to shreds. But the chihuahua, you get me, it barks a lot because it's insecure in its position and its posture. So it amplifies a louder noise to create the look of strength. So now, coming back to the topic of the purpose of why we compete in these environments, is because at the end of the day, for so long, the best has not been the best. And this is also in regard to like politics. A lot of beta males are entering the environment and they're masking and disguising because they know how to look at what an alpha is and replicate that image and then pretend like that's the position that God had birthed for them, which is okay, because realistically, I think it's up to society to be able to discern who a leader is and then follow. But unfortunately, with the amount of propaganda tools we have today, it's like anyone can really make themselves look like anything. Like, guys really give out to girls about makeup and looking like a way that you're not really naturally. But everybody's pushing out an image online and outside in general to who you're not. And it has an effect, because if I was a lion and I was a cub lion, but I could like wake up in the morning and I could put on a mane, everyone in the safari is gonna think I'm a fully grown lion, so I'm the king of the jungle. So now when I walk around, the lionesses, they're like, yo, I'm smashing. Do you get me? Because he's got the right to smash. He's got full mane. Yeah, and I'm enjoying, this is the thing that happens with them, yeah? They enjoy the fruits that come with being the king, but then the crowd of hyenas come, and them man are kicking it, they're legging it, because the mane that they have is not real. It's just like, it was for the sake of pussy play. But now that there's the ops, like, you need to actually be able to like bark at. You don't have the bark.
That's my favorite rapper.
You get me? Which is, it's sad, because then like the whole pride suffers. So leadership needs to be leadership, and apprenticeship needs to be apprenticeship. There's nothing wrong with being an apprentice who seeks to work towards a higher notion of knowledge, strength, leaderships, and the ability to govern. You get me? There's nothing wrong with it. But I don't think you want to skip the steps. I was seeing another video on TikTok. This guy here.
Like, the rap game is cooked. Let me tell you why. Because I've clocked the game. Yeah. All the rappers now are just starting off as the finished product now. There's no progression. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, if you think about it, look at all the rappers that we listen to now, that we've been listening to for years. We watch the progression. They all started off broke. They all started off hustling, started off broke. You get me? There was holes in their socks. So therefore, they had to make the music on point to get the eyes onto their music. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, people are trying to cheat the system, bro, by just being paid. Bro, and it's not cutting it for me no more, bro. I get it, everyone's paid now, but yo, where's the quality of music now, though?
He was saying that rap is dead. And the reason he was saying rap is dead, because he feels like the stages have been robbed. People aren't taking like their time to get to their glow stage. Everyone's just seeking the boom immediately because they can do it artificially now. Everyone knows you can get this, you can get that, you can make yourself look like this, you can do that, post this, say that, boom, 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 and then you'll just be here. Do you know what I'm saying? And realistically, I do blame it on the people who have like benefited from that framework. But at the same time, that's life, you know? People are always going to find ways to cut corners. But this is why the analogy of the turtle and the fox is a very important one. And that whole take and trust the process. It's not something that deceives you. It's something that really like exists. Principles exist. So nothing can take away from them and change them. That's a very long intro to this conversation. But welcome to Rrr episode.
Don't even get me started.
And we'll get into it now. Alright. So, the steps to healing that schizophrenia, I think, is something for males that we need to learn, something that for females that we need to learn as well. Because what it's doing is not allowing us to have the adequate role models in spaces where we need them. So if we look at it, there's things that the society does as a whole to get us into a spiritual stage of confusion where this becomes the thing, the norm, that you have people pretending to be who they're not and people desiring to be who they don't need to be. You know what I mean? Pulling us out from under what God has desired for us in destiny. And when that happens, you create vacuums, and all those vacuums create places where hosts of spirits can enter and possess people, literally. Like, as in, you won't even understand it. Like, I had the spirit of anger, I had the spirit of lust, and it took me a while to understand why I had those things. We thank God for fasting, prayer, and I'm not ever gonna say that I'm fully actually, I'm going to say I'm fully recovered, but I at times still struggle with those things because those are my weaknesses, you get me? And I've turned them to strengths, amen? True God. But it's always going to be a consistent, you know what I mean, to keep up the wall and the barricade, the fortress. You always have to mow the lawn, you get me? Alright, so the Pastor Stephen Darby is a pastor, yeah? And this is a podcast here where he speaks about this. Not a podcast, it's a sermon where he speaks about this. And in this sermon, as he speaks about this conversation, I started to realize the things that I could offer my community for them to recognize the traumas within themselves that has them moving or acting a certain way. Like, has you feeling less than you are? Has you feeling like imposter syndrome? Has you feeling like that you're not worthy? Have you feeling like all this? Because all those things in your character play out in environments when you're in specific spaces. And it's hard to be anywhere if you're not fully righteous, because at all times you'll be vulnerable to the plays of the enemy, and that stops you from achieving destiny. So I want anyone who's interested to take, or anyone who can relate to what I just said there, to take that sermon in, and I'm just going to clip a certain part of that sermon. In fact, I might even watch a little part of that sermon right now, just so that then we can, you know what I'm saying, assess what we're saying.
Why would Satan want you to have a double mind? Keeps you stagnant. That's what it's for. Because when a person thinks about doing this, the other mind says do this. So they constantly, then they look up and they right where they was 5 years ago, because it's keeping them nowhere. The whole goal is for you never to go forward. Are you hearing what I'm saying?
Okay, so he just spoke about the cause of having a double mind, yeah? Now say, when he speaks about being double-minded, yeah, let's talk about Malik and Trevor. There was a time where I used to go under the alias of Trevor because that was my Instagram name. And what happened was, I didn't know that having two names, yeah, and going and doing music under that same name created two personalities, you get me? Because not only did like the people who knew me for making music or being socially active online call me Trevor, but also people who knew me from like street activity called me Trevor. So when I come home, I'm Malik, you get me? But when I'm outside, I'm Trevor. And the thing about it is like there's two things occurring with those two characters at all times. Malik is a family person. Malik is, you know what I mean, known by those who know him from his origin. But Trevor is known by whoever Trevor puts his face to, you get me? So there's this important thing that happens where it's like, you might have to actually focus a lot of your energy on destiny when it comes to where you want to go with yourself. But when you split yourself into two characters and you're pouring energy into something else that's not fully true to your origin, it starts to create its own path of destiny. And especially if you're someone with a past history of trauma or tragedy in your life, you might not realize that like you're fulfilling desires that aren't even yours on this side of the spectrum. So I'll stop there and I'll let him speak about it again, because I feel like he explains it maybe in a more concise way than I am.
Are you hearing what I'm saying? Come on, talk back to me. Women especially have trouble deciding and undeciding about a situation, back and forth. You ever seen a woman shop? It's one of the worst things I've ever experienced. It's so frustrating to me, because it's like they what you think, does this look good? Is this, they got a basket full of stuff, half of it they don't want. But they went all the way up to the thing though, and they don't want half of it. I was just looking at it. I was thinking about it as I was riding around the store with the basket. See, just not being able to make those decisions, that shows that women need to be covered. That's why men are supposed to be decisive. He may have never developed that, but that's the way a man's supposed to be decisive. That's what brings security to a woman, is a man will make a decision. He ain't gonna sit here and let the house fall down. He ain't gonna sit here and let us get put out. He gonna make a decision. That's what you want. That's what you want to build in your man. If you try to manipulate your man, then you take away his ability to be decisive, and you the one gonna suffer. Because when you want the security, it ain't gonna be there because you've already manipulated him out of his decision making.
There we go. So it's so beautiful how he speaks about women being indecisive in their nature naturally, and then men having to be decisive. Okay, now when I was speaking earlier on about beta males and alpha males, yeah, no one's actually a beta male. I believe everybody's an alpha naturally within their life, because God's given you a realm of possibilities that you need to charge and you need to be lead of, especially if you're going to be a father, you're going to be a brother, like a son. As a man in general, just in life, you need to be able to make decisions for the outcomes of the things you charge and the outcomes of those around you. You know what I mean? You have to be a leader. Like, every man in his own right is a leader of his home. So in that sense, we can't afford to be double-minded. We can't afford to be two people in one, because indecision causes distraction. Distraction causes a waste of time, which causes overall loss in the end. Because if you speak to a lot of artists or a lot of people within the sphere of this scene, yeah, what you'll notice is that they'll tell you about times where they used to feed ego a lot more than the actual trajectory of what the career they started was for, which would be about eventually becoming financially stable, eventually becoming independent, eventually becoming impactful within the community that they're in, and then wrapping all of that up and staying consistent in it. But because of the things that came with the path, the things that they probably never got before from those that they loved or from places that they seek validation, as they journey through that path, they get distracted by the things that feed ego. So instead of feeding the things that are going to feed them fruitfully in their future, they start focusing it to the places that it's never really going to validate or secure them. And then eventually they get to a place where it's like a midlife crisis. So it all wraps itself up eventually, and then it bursts out, and you come to a realization where it's like, what have I been doing? You get me? Who have I been influencing, and what have I poured this into for? Like, all this energy's gone out of me for what? So, or else you become focused in the trajectory of what you're trying to do, you'll get nowhere. And I believe as black men, that's what's happened to our community. Instead of, like, a lot of black girls come to us and say it, they'll be like, you guys don't fight for us. So when you have the option to repackage yourself and enter different environments, of course you won't see the need to fight from your home when you feel like you can belong somewhere else. You know what I mean? Either in the streets, either in the creative world, either in the corporate world, wherever you believe you can run away from your place of origin and your responsibilities to as a man, and then find belonging. It could be in the beds of girls, you know what I'm saying? It could be in the bar. It could be just plenty places people go to escape. But eventually, the ego can only be fed so much, because time will run out where the ego matters. And all those responsibilities you've neglected, like taking care of your mom and the direct things that matter to your real life family and situation, are going to become heightened now. Because instead of mowing the lawn when you had to at a younger age, you ignored the lawn for so long, and now when your liver can't take any more alcohol, you come back home to recover, the grass is this high, and all the responsibilities you have to take care of are past you tenfold. But guess what? You have to take care of them. They're yours. There's no running away from it now. Because like all that time to have banter wasn't actually time to have banter. It was time to charge responsibility so that you can stay consistent and you can feed yourself throughout all of these, and you can stay ahead of this curve. Because what happens with comfort in reality is that it's a killer, because discomfort is only coming in a matter of time. Like aging. If you want to take care of your health today, you can enjoy the crisps now. You can enjoy the fatty drinks now, but you're still aging. And eventually, the heart and the liver and the organs that have been taking care of you and churning it all out are going to eventually start to dissipate. So now you're still doing all those things, and guess what? Diabetes is just waiting over here. Now you could use it with family. The parents that have been paying the rent for you, that have been protecting you, that have been keeping you, like as in away from the realities of this cold world, are also going to be growing older, and their ability to do those things is going to dissipate. And if all you've been doing in that time while they've been doing that is lustfully living, egotistically living, feeding yourself where invalidating in things that validate you in your ego and not really in your reality, by the time you come back home, when you're finally woken up to the illusion, they will not be able to take care of you for much longer. And what have you built for yourself to be able to take care of them when it's your turn? So we need to actually, as a community now, if you look at it as a community, as a black community, yeah, the communities that we're in, yeah, that have taken care of us as Afro-Irish blacks, yeah, that have taken us in since we were youths. And now it's our turn to enter these career paths or these working environments and to give back, yeah? How much of it have we been working on since we were in that shell or that egg? How much influence, how much impact, how much have we given back? How much have we influenced and built for ourselves so that then when it's time that our parents need to rest and we need to charge these environments and communities and be the ones talking for the sake of the youth behind us, have we gotten to? So it's very interesting when you have a splintered schizophrenia, yeah, like a spiritual one, that's charging you to run away from home for the sake of fulfilling self, like as in ways that you thought you needed to be fulfilled. You're gonna realize that it's just taking away from time that you don't have, precious time. So I want people to take this in if this relates to you, and there's prayers and methods of fasting that you can go on and identify those things for yourself so as to bring yourself back to a place of balance, and then you can start to affect your life a lot better. Now, that's just one topic anyways. I'm going to leave that link there and you guys can go check that video out. I promise you, if you really do the work, you'll see the results. The last thing before we end the podcast or the feedback session, yeah, is that the environment or the atmosphere that is necessary for this spiritual schizophrenia to succeed in our communities is the one of a weak man and a strong woman. Now, by a strong woman, I don't mean that a strong woman and a strong man can't exist, but the combination of a weak man and a strong woman is that if by nature a woman's spirit is to be not indecisive, but to be always fluctuating and changing, a weak man who then has the same nature can't be decisive enough to make the decisions, which would create an environment of chaos. Whereas if you have a strong man and a strong woman, then you have someone who's going to be decisive. Now, this doesn't mean that all women have a nature of indecisiveness. There's definitely critically decisive women in our environment. Those are just probably on the spectrum or the rarer few. We can naturally, like, as in, agree that in general, when it comes to things, girls are more vast in their outlook, you know? They like a multitude of colors. Guys are more simple in how they orient themselves. So this isn't sexism. It's just like a analysis of the natural chemical makeup of men and women, so as to understand why these things are occurring in our communities. So, like I was saying, a strong man and a strong woman means a strong team in which a decision can come to and a community can fulfill itself to its fullest. Where if you have a strong man and a weak woman, a strong man will still guide a weak woman. He might teach her, because men are usually teachers in a relationship, and he might protect her and safeguard her and give her the environment she needs to grow into her strength. Like, a strong woman can do that for a weak man as well, but that's also going to be one of those, particularly, maybe she's a God-blessed woman. Maybe she's like somebody who's spiritually inclined and as in like God has anointed her, but that kind of woman isn't going to seek a weak man, or else she sees dormant strength within him. Usually women look for advantages within men, and that's just natural, you know, because we have natural roles we should play. So the biblical reference I can give to these things would be Ahab and Jezebel and Herod and the daughter, that inside these texts prophets were killed because of the consequence of weak men and strong women. So Jezebel, being the strong woman in this conversation, was seeking the death of Elijah, a strong man in the community. He was speaking against the abominations that the result of a weak man and strong women was birthing in that system at that time, because queen and king from the top down. So the queen and the king at the time, Ahab and his wife Jezebel, were creating a community of weakness because he was a weak man and she was a strong woman. It caused chaos within the system where they were worshipping the Baals and all of those things were happening. The 300 prophets Elijah killed, but Jezebel still wanted to destroy Elijah, a strong man, by all means, because he threatened her rule in a chaotic kingdom. Okay? Now, another reference would be Elijah in the time of King Herod, where King Herod doesn't like, he's a strong man, but see, also there can be strong men who are weak because they're weak to their ego, you see? So strength, I'm not measuring strength by, no, I'm measuring strength by spiritual character and like the decisions you make for a greater outcome, you know? So it could be intellectual strength, you know, it could be a spiritual strength, it could be a moral strength you have where you're incorruptible. So it's not about being the toughest guy in the environment, no, but it's about being a leader and a decisive one, like as in one that makes outcomes and decisions that benefit the greater good of the society under God, you know? So if you look at those scripts in the Bible, like as in, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, where two strong men, Elijah and John the Baptist, had to come against societies that were weak because of leadership that was weak. So when you have weak leadership represented by the masculine and the feminine, you'll have those kind of chaotic outcomes. So again, this is going to be here for you guys to take in. And then those are two stories in the Bible that you can read and ask God to give you reference on spiritual entities or principalities that you need casted out of your life to conquer this spiritual schizophrenia. That's that for now with the spiritual conversation and with the conversation about everything that's going on within our community and where we need to make sure we place ourselves when it comes to those things. Now, I want to just talk about this. Hey guys, it's Malik, Melanatedmilitant of RRNK and Mama She. So here we have the RNK Christmas raffle. So to win and be in the chance to win some of these items, you're going to have to follow these 3 steps. So first step is make sure you follow the RNK page, the RR page and Mama She page. Next step is text one of these pages with your name and the word competitor beside your name. And the last thing is buy a ticket in the link in the bio for our upcoming event. This event is a live music session from some of your favorite artists and some underground artists. Come through, everyone's welcome. You're going to listen to some unreleased music from some underground artists and some familiar songs from some of Ireland's greatest artists. RNK to the world and back.